Okay, so this is third time lucky. This is a bit of an experiment. So please bear with me while I'm trying out the tech. So what I thought I would do is kind of to summarize what was in this week's Geogra3 newsletter. So the idea is I'm just going to go and kind of share my screen and show you some of the key links that I've drawn attention to in the email. So let's have a go. So the first thing is I'll just share my screen, hopefully, and it will bring up the blog post that I've now done of that email, hopefully. In fact, actually, I'll do the entire screen. That might make it a bit easier for me so I can flick between them. So it might look a bit weird, yeah, so it's all gone a bit strange. So if I just quickly hop over to, now I've no idea if you can see me now. Hang on a second. Let me just stop that screen share. Sorry, I did say you're going to have to bear with me. We probably all at school anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I'll just try again, and I just want that one. So let's just bring up that one. So in my blog, I've got all of the information that I've already provided on the Geogra3 email. So I'm just going to use this as my base to keep going back to. But the first thing on the Geogra3 email this week was about how to do effective lessons when you're there on interview. So if you've got an interview coming up soon and you want to be best prepared for it, there's a really useful blog that I linked to here. Again, I'm hoping it's coming up on the screen. So this was written by Elizabeth Bowling. And what I really like about this is there's some really useful tips throughout the article about, how to start the lesson and so on. But what's really good, I think, about this particular blog is that it gives you sort of ideas of what sort of things that you can say. And I know particularly if you're a newer teacher, sometimes that can be a little bit difficult thinking about how it's going to pan out in the lesson. So you might quite appreciate that. But I think there's lots of different things there. As I said in the email, it's not specifically for geography. As you can see, there's a few examples there for business, science and English. But as I say, what I really like is the kind of the handy tips of things that you can say and how that might pan out in the lesson. Okay, so that's the first thing on the Geogra3 email. The second thing that I refer to is about using GIS in the classroom. Now, I don't know about you, but quite often I felt a bit overwhelmed about using GIS effectively. I've always kind of felt that I've got to make my own maps, kind of do my own stuff, etc. And that's probably stopped me from using it as much in the classroom as I'd like to. But there's this really, really good site from Geospatial UK, which I'll just show you now. And it's got a whole variety of resources that you can literally pick up and go with, and you can share it with your students. As it says on there, it's really convenient for Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5. So if you're around the rest of the world, that's kind of talking about ages 14 up to 18. So what I really like, there's a variety of different activities here. So it's broken down in kind of topic areas. I mean, it says timing 30 to 45 minutes, but if you've got an hour lesson, by the time all the students are logged on, etc., you're going to be using, everything, all the time that you've got. So if I just show the example here of the UK coasts one, again, I'm hoping it's showing up on your screens. I've absolutely no idea. I don't know what you can see. So yeah, this booklet, as I say, it's really nicely laid out. There's an introduction so that you as a teacher can get familiar with what you've got to do and you can try out doing it yourself. I like this one. It gets them to measure kind of the changing coastline around the UK. So you can see the amount of retreats happened in various locations. So that's a really nice one. Just trying to work out where I was. Was it on that one? I think it was on that one. There's another one I know that might be particularly useful for A-level. So if you're doing about changing places, maybe you want to use some of the website, or can't reload it at the minute. I think it links to the website DataShine. If you've ever used that, it's a really good place of looking at census data. So it gives them an idea of ways that they might be able to use the DataShine website, which I think is really, really good. Okay, so that was the second thing on the Geogra3 email this week. And then the third thing links into urban landscapes. Now, I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to human geography, and I know I'm quite often in the minority there, but I really love the human geography side of things, and particularly looking at urban landscapes. So one of the things that I liked this week, I was having a little look through the British Landscape Photographer of the Year, and they did a fantastic award, all based on urban life. And there's some amazing images that you might want to kind of bring up on the board in the classroom and get students to kind of think about kind of people's images of urban life and what it means to them. The other thing I thought that linked really nicely with this, it made me think of a homework I've done many years ago, linked to the Urban Earth project by Daniel Raven Ellison. I'll just quickly show you that on YouTube. But essentially what it is it goes to a variety of different cities around the world. And sorry, I'll just turn the sound off of that for a sec. So they do an urban transit, and effectively every 8 to 10 steps, they take a photograph, and then put them all together and create a video. So I did this for homework with my students one year, and literally they went out in their local neighbourhood. Every 10 step they took a photograph, and then they put it all together like what you can see on the screen at the moment. And it effectively allowed them to kind of see their neighbourhood in a different way. And like you can see, it's obviously done really quite quickly, but it's useful to kind of demonstrate the different zones that you get across a city. You can kind of leap forward and look at the changing land use and, you know, differences in transport links, etc. So I thought it was a really, really good project that you can use for homework. Love or hate homework, you know, here's an idea that you might be able to do that involves a very little prep. So I think that's all of the main things that were on the Geogra3 this week. Don't forget, obviously, there's always the Just for Fun flag quiz that we're on at the moment. We're getting very close to the end of the alphabet, so I have to think about what my next quiz might be. If you want to sign up to the email, then I'll put a link in the comments after I finish doing this video clip that I've no idea if it's working or anything like that. So sign up for the weekly email. You get all of that into your inbox. If you don't fancy the email, I do try and make sure I put it on my blog page as well, which you can find at www.thegeographyteacherbox.com. Okay, apologies if that's been a nightmare, but I'll stop there for now. Hopefully, I'll see you next week if this hasn't scared the life out of me by then. Okay, bye-bye for now.